coming at me all wrong.
I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Listening while I goon.
Just 5 more minutes, Zach. You can do
The absolute best way to
it.
listen to the podcast. Holy crap.
For those who can't see what Zach wrote, it says, I'll be looking for a bit, listening while I goon. Priorities, Zach, priorities.
Donald, do you have enough gum for the rest of the class?
7 years, man. 7 years.
I didn't swallow it.
Yeah, I know. It was so convincing, though.
Thank you.
I can tell when you really swallow.
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
You're welcome. You know what? The night can't get any better for now.
Damn it.
How is everybody feeling tonight?
Good. But for real, though, you got to get rid of the gum.
Do I?
Yeah.
Donnie Hocktuid.
It was... Go ahead.
Did you really put your gum in there and then drink out of it?
It's water.
And now it's spearmint flavored
Yeah,
water.
No, it's actually strawberry. So I've been chewing strawberry Big League Chew.
Have you really been chewing Big League Chew? Man, that's a blast from the past.
I love Big League Chew. That's pretty much the only gum that I chew now.
And it's just amazing, like how much we glommed onto that because we wanted to be cool, like baseball players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Glommed is the verb of the day.
Yeah. What's a glom?
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
You can't afford it. And I'm sorry, why the disgust about putting my gum in my water that I'm drinking? The gum was in my mouth.
It's just I mean, it's like spitting in your own water.
I mean, I don't like him, but he's got a point.
Objectively, he's got a point, but do you spit in your water and then continue to drink it?
Well, backwash.
Yeah, I would say backwash.
That's different.
And
hopefully that's
different.
controlled.
Oh my god.
Hopefully that's controlled.
Gaming and Gains know Big League Chew doesn't disintegrate in your mouth. I think this is actually Big League Chew holds its flavor for quite some time as opposed to Fruit Stripe or Bazooka.
Yeah, but Bazooka came with comics, so.
That's true. But so in Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, what's her name? Put Violet Beauregard, put the gum behind her ear. Who puts gum behind your ear?
That's why nobody liked her in that movie anyway.
I'm at least putting it in my water so that later I can take it back out and chew it some more. So
it's like a baked potato.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the comments afterwards about whether it's okay to spit your gum in your water and then continue to drink said water.
I predict that it will have the same reception that you had last week about TMNT.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, but we'll see.
I can't be the only person that does this, but regardless, let's go ahead and start the show.
You fall before me, says, it's the circle of gum.
Welcome to Gamers Week Podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 173, and today is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. My name is Donnie G. Retro, and as you can see, I will be your host this evening, but I am not alone. My first co-host loves to play VHS roulette with his Gam, not knowing what's going to pop up or pop out. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Ryan Payne, a.k.a. Retro Game Brews.
Oh, I'm so thrown off by the pop-outs. It's like in my brain, I had a response formulating, and then that just came, and it's gone. It's gone.
Don't think of
So
the pop-up pout as a dirty thing. Like maybe like a cartoon character is popping out.
Is there another way
right,
to
yeah,
think
I
of
was gonna say that there's no other way to interpret this. Oh,
it? Maybe you should have some gum water. It would get the taste out of your mouth.
Oh. And ladies and gentlemen, say hello to my second co-host. She loves pickles in almost everything. Just don't ask her what she doesn't like it in. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her. Writer's View, aka Blue Williams. Blue, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty well. So, for context, I tried that pickle slushy from Sonic because typically I love pickled flavored things. And so I thought that's going to be weird. But like if you are familiar with Dutch Brothers coffee,
I've heard of
no?
them.
Okay, they're more like a Pacific Northwest thing, I think. But they had like a lemonade. It was like a pickle lemonade where it was mostly lemonade with like a tiny little hint of pickle, and it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad. And so that's kind of what I expected from this. But it shows up and it looks like nuclear green. Like I'm not sure of the chemical composition of this thing. And then it's got little like boba, like pickle boba. And then they very kindly put a slice of dill pickle in the top with some sprinkled like fresh dill. Very fancy. And this thing was disgusting. It was like drinking bread and butter pickle juice on ice,
See, I was going to ask
but
what
bright green.
kind of pickle it was. And would that matter? Would that make a difference if it was like a
sweet
Vlasic
pickle?
dill or a sweet pickle, like a bread and butter pickle?
I don't know that it would have made any difference. Like I was posting pictures of it in the Discord, and Sheriff Snacks was like, "Oh, mix it with a Baja Blast. That'll help." Like, no, I don't think there's any saving this. It's pickle juice with bright green sugar in it,
Oh.
and it was
Pixel Pond
disgusting. So,
Productions rating us with a party of 11. Thank you very much,
Yay.
Pixel Pond.
hello, Pixel Pond.
How are our
Welcome, Raiders.
friends?
Yes, Pixel Pond says pickle juice drinks are gross, and now I can definitively say yes,
But-
they are gross.
But pickle juice from the jar? That's not gross.
Do you ever just drink it straight?
Yeah, I like have like maybe a couple sips.
I was like, the hand motion showed me that there.
This hand motion?
Okay, Frankie says, would you chew pickle flavored gum? And as we were talking about the whole gum thing, I was thinking maybe Big League Chew should come out with like the shredded pickled gum.
I
Gum,
would try
people.
pickled gum. I can't say that I would chew it after I tried it, but I would chew it or try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like dill pickles, so it's a hard pass for me.
Whoa, okay.
Really? Those are the best pickles.
I'm aware that most people really enjoy dill pickles. I never liked them. In my household, we grew up with the bread and butter ones, and yeah, and then we had icicle pickles as well as a kid, which are super super sweet. Yeah, so dill has never been my jam.
So Gaiman and Gaines says, I love pickle juice, used to drink it all the time. I Can't See says, I like pickles, but I prefer bread and butter or gherkins. Don't get the craze of the last 7 years. And Pixel Pond says, I know people say do the drink from the jar, but hear me out, that's dumb as heck. Why drink pickle juice from the jar when you can have, say, some tap water, room temperature, literally anything?
It's got flavor.
Yeah, it's like it's a big football thing. Oh, we're gonna drink the pickle juice on the sideline to stop the cramping, but yeah.
Simon asked here, no one is mixing pickles with butter. I think it's just a phrase or a name for it. I don't think there's any logic to that.
Yeah.
There's actually butter in. What
I
is it?
think our
Bread and butter.
video went away.
Yeah,
It did.
because I pressed a button on my damn thing. Hang
Stop
on.
pressing buttons.
Sorry. There we go.
See,
Well, we're
puzzle
back.
better. You need to amend your emoji so that'll be pickle and butter and bread.
Want to start your own podcast? Maybe about post-apocalyptic high fashion for the unending nuclear winter, or something regarding pickles? You'll need a place to host your show. Buzzsprout has a user-friendly interface, great analytics, and resources to help grow your audience. Use the link in the description to get a $20 credit when you sign up for a paid plan. I see blue is moving. Ryan and I are actually stuck. Let me go ahead and
So they have the important one, so we're good.
yeah. Hang
Nah,
on a second. Let me
nah.
move over here and come back and see if we're still stuck. And we are still stuck.
What you want to do is hide
There
and
we
then
go.
yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. All right. We're good. All
All right.
right. Let's
All
move on to
right.
our reviews, reactions, and requests. Gaming and Gains says Blue calling RGB a nerd after using the phrase late night Mario Kart lobbies.
This made me laugh so much. Thank you, Gaming and Gains.
I don't see what's nerdy about late night Mario Kart lobbies. That's what the cool kids are doing on Saturday nights, okay?
The fact that you don't know is, I think, proves the point.
What are you doing that's so much cooler than that on Saturdays?
Sleeping. Viceroy Vimes says there was a literal needle stopped on my mental record upon hearing that Writer's View hadn't seen the OG TMNT movie. This must be corrected.
Well, Blue.
Viceroy.
I did correct it. I mean, you'll hear the cold open in the show. I corrected it. That's why I was like, this amount of judgment is something that I'm not used to having since I left Twitter. So I was like, I have to fix this and get everybody off my back.
So that
Says
has been rectified.
TK85 says, yes, I prefer Mario Kart After Dark.
Ooh la la. Everybody in the chat, she has seen it. So she has rectified that. You'll have to listen to the episode, the final episode coming out on Friday, to get her thoughts on the movie. And last but not least, Mogak says, laughing my ass off listening to the new release section for completely unrelated reasons. When my wife was in college, some friends were watching all of the Gundam series. She wasn't particularly interested in the show, so she made up a game in her head where she replaced the word Gundam with the word penis. It totally changes the tone of the show to hear, my Gundam can't take off, or my Gundam is too demolished to fight. No one could figure out why she was laughing uncontrollably.
My Gundam is too demolished to fight is same as death by Snoo Snoo.
Please, no more. I need a sandwich and a nap.
So Games with Coffee appreciates that one, like I figured.
Right.
From now on, when you guys watch Gundam, you're never going to be able to get that out of your head.
No, they're all screwed.
Till the end of your life. You Fall Before Me says, my Gundam brings all the... Nah, you know what, never mind.
My Gundam brings all the goys to the yard. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Ducks with Thick Thighs, absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress. Bobs and Dugnut, Blue's Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retroblast Pat, B&T's Illa Guy, The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Snacks, The Handsome Chef, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, The Pixel Pawn family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach, aka Old Cluster Nuts, Puzzle Butter, Number One Blue Sick Boys fan, John Barron, Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Rai Wants This Boy's Soul, Mega Retroman, Gamatroid, Mora Deeb, Michael, Mongo Only Pawn in Game of Life, Lakite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, you know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps, and fruitcakes. I hate it when my Schwartz gets twisted, pickled pepper. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing, like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our bi-weekly, but on hiatus until August. Patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut. I hate you both. Patrons with benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
Where they committed this heinous crime. Hiatus. We're going to go on a hiatus.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our headlines.
So this headline segment is proudly sponsored by the absolutely the best podcast, A Work in Progress. Each episode, George and Zach discuss and rank all the best things, starting with deep dives into every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This week, we've got a trivia question for us. According to instruction manual for Castlevania on the NES, what is the name for the health replenishing item more commonly referred to as wall meat? Visit them at absolutelythebestpodcast.net or follow the link in the show notes.
I feel like
Donaldo, I know this one.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it like a turkey or chicken?
It looks like a turkey leg. You're not wrong.
Okay. Turkey, chicken,
Simon knows.
beef.
Duck
Ducks
says
and
it's rum ham.
Rub ham! Rub ham! Like beef steak? Beef slice?
Beef stroganoff?
Beef stroganoff?
Salisbury steak?
What could be so bad? It's Salisbury steak day. Ham slice?
It is not.
Okay,
It
I don't know.
is a pork chop.
Pork chop.
That is
Okay.
correct. Pork chop. But for a bonus, what is the comment by that item in the manual?
Oh, Jesus.
What is the comment?
So, like, the description of it?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't even know what it was called, so
Yeah, I got nothing.
The comment is appears with a secret whip stroke.
you don't say. The meat appears with a whip stroke?
Secret whip stroke. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Brings out the
Webhead
meat in all
says
of us.
chicken of the cave.
I like that.
Is it
Beef
chicken
steak.
or is it cave?
All right, first up, among the waves of fallout from Microsoft's layoff of what do you say? The secret whip stroke. That's how I landed Mrs. Gaines. All right.
She's a lucky lady.
Among the waves of fallout from Microsoft's layoff of 9,000 employees last week, Xbox Game Pass has now come under fire for its unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade. Rafael Colantonio, founder of Arcane Studios, which put out celebrated hits like Dishonored and Prey before being purchased by Microsoft and then stumbling with Redfall, took to social media to criticize the service. I think Game Pass is an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade, subsidized by Microsoft's infinite money, but at some point reality has to hit, Colantonio said, or he tweeted. The only way Game Pass can coexist without hurting everyone is for the back catalog. Colantonio's comment sparked a vociferous debate about the pros and cons of Game Pass in industry terms as well as for the customer. The sentiment was backed by a number of industry peers, including the former VP of Business Development at Epic Games, Michael Dowse, publishing director of Baldur's Gate 3 developer Larian, said, did I read that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a lot of commas.
Every time you take a breath.
No, I'm sorry. The sentiment was backed by a number of industry peers, including the former VP of Business Development at Epic Games. Michael Dowse, publishing director at Baldur's Gate 3 developer Larian, said that the biggest concern right now evolves around what happens when all that money runs out. This, Dowse added, is one of the main economic reasons people I know haven't shifted to its business model. The infinite money thing never made any sense. Microsoft does not report on the success of Game Pass either way in financial terms. Indeed, its reporting on its gaming business is vague at best. However, according to the game business co-founder Christopher Dring, Xbox Game Pass is profitable, even when you factor in the lost sales for its first-party teams. He cites sources who would know for this information. And that sounds just like a political thing. Oh, yeah, of course, it's totally sustainable. Yeah, I mean, if you're in the know, sure, you would know that.
Sources would know. It's AKA my ass.
Vociferous.
I mean, I think, yeah,
a vociferous debate.
I thought we could pronounce it voci ferris if we're doing hiatus.
It's vociferous, man.
I think we've all kind of had at least this assumption when it comes to Game Pass that uh, it's clearly not an immediately profitable product for Microsoft. It can't be if you think about the amount of people who are just signing up for Game Pass and just using it for that and not purchasing games. So clearly they're missing out at least on some of the sales that they would get if they didn't have Game Pass. However, I I think it for Microsoft, it's not a bad thing because it gets people either using their consoles or purchasing it for PC. So it Microsoft is still relevant in the game space. They almost serving at that point as a subscription service. Like if Steam had a subscription service, it'd be the same thing, right? Where people are
Mm-hmm.
coming to the platform. The people who are losing out on this are the publishers of the actual games because they get a stipend from what I understand, at least when we've gotten previous articles that have come through had said something
Mm-hmm.
about that, but it still can't be as profitable as just releasing a game on the, you know, without Game Pass existing. But it's gotten to the point where if you don't put it on Game Pass, it's not going to get in front of as many eyes. So they've created this monster, kind of similar to I think we've at least given this analogy in the past, where if if you're going to sell your product at any retailer, you typically sell it for a loss at Walmart because you know that you need to at least have people buy that product. So when they
Yeah.
see it, they go, oh, I want to buy that thing. Chances are they
Mm-hmm.
either will or will not go to Walmart. But because there's just so much distribution, it's kind of the same thing with Microsoft. And so is it a net positive for gaming? I don't think it is. I don't think it's sustainable long term as far as things go. Um, but they can do it for themselves because of that unlimited cash thing. So they don't really care. And the idea that it's profitable, I think, is just smoke and mirrors. Profitable to who? In what way?
Well, you have to cook the books, you see. So where you take the first party games completely out of the equation, even though that should be a huge factor because when you release a first party game on Game Pass and people don't have to buy it, they can get it for $1 trial or whatever. That massively affects your sales, but supposedly you're doing your own math to where that doesn't matter, but it's still profitable.
And that's it. You're right. Um, or maybe you're taking into like long term costs all the way down 10 years, right? And you're looking at it from that point of view, like, oh, well, we'll still be sustainable because of this, and we'll incur some of that money back because we've had so many people pay us for this. I don't know. I
Maybe
really don't.
the math's not mathing in my head, but
No, not at all. Not at all.
yeah. I mean, a large part of the debate, like you were saying, is that Game Pass is a good value for consumers. Like Ducks in Disguise says in the chat, most people have less money for everything, including games. Game Pass is a great option if you want a game without spending a fortune on $80 games. And that's true. And it's also, in many ways, a great deal for smaller developers because they can get their game in front of far, far more people than they'd ever get just hopping on the eShop or Steam all by themselves. Probably never get noticed. But Game Pass, because it's.
Ryan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, but we lost your
Yep.
video.
Yep.
Yep.
And the recording stopped as well.
That's weird. I got an error message that says ran into an error initializing the session.
Oh. Did you have a
Okay.
backup?
I did have a backup.
Did
I've
you
got a
have one?
backup. I've got a
I've got
backup.
one. Everybody's got a backup. We're going to be
Yay!
okay. Yay.
Look at me.
And we haven't
We're
had.
gonna be okay.
We haven't had problems like this in a while. Man, that sucks.
All
It's
right,
not my fault.
so do we want to keep going with considering I don't want to fuck with this thing right now? And you just don't get to
Um,
see my beautiful face, or how do you want to do this?
It's gonna be tough whenever you have something to say, and we.
yeah. But
Well, we did that for like, I don't know, 110 episodes.
I know, and it sucked.
it didn't suck that much.
Well, just it felt like, at least I personally felt like I was always interrupting people because I didn't know when they were done talking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you guys.
Raposki says, yay, back that thing up.
Well, if you think you might be able to fix it, go ahead. But if you don't think you can,
I would have to end the session.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
So what do you?
didn't it already stop anyway? It stopped recording, so
No,
it
I
doesn't
mean I
matter.
would have. Well, I guess so. Yeah. All right. We want to take like a little bit of break. You want to throw it on like a break screen for a
Sure.
second?
Yeah, we'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Feel better. Take a moment, folks. Pop the popcorn, get some pickle juice, and some bread and butter.
Ugh.
Sounds like something they probably eat in Britain.
A,
Sandwiches with
a,
white bread.
a pickle, a whole pickle on a bread and butter, just like a corn on the cob. Gross.
Thank you for sticking around, everyone.
We
Apologies
appreciate it.
about that. I was making a point. What point was I making?
Something about the infinite money. I thought one of you was
Mm.
talking about that. I mean,
Um, so like Ryan was saying how like selling your product at Walmart for a loss is worth it because you get your product in front of so many more eyes than you would otherwise. It's a
of
lot of
course.
the ways the same thing with Game Pass with the smaller publishers, smaller developers, because they can get their product out in front of way more eyes than they would otherwise just trying to hop on the eShop or trying to hop on Steam. So it's beneficial for them. It's beneficial for the consumers. Who it's not beneficial for is the argument goes basically the rest of the game industry because uh, it takes consumers away from other publishers who are needing those full price sales to help justify the cost of development on the other end. And it also, I think, in a lot of ways, gives consumers unrealistic expectations about what price these products should be a lot of the time. So
Right.
I can see it from both ways, but I can definitely see the sentiment of saying, no, it's been wrecking the games industry for the last decade. Nobody else
So,
wants to do what Game Pass is doing. So I think that's why everybody's real skeptical that the maths.
so Game Pass has been around for what, 10 years? That's what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that makes me feel so
Yeah, I know, I know.
old.
Well, I was trying to figure out when Dishonored came out, and just a quick search was 2012, right? So at the time there was no Game Pass for Dishonored to be on, but Prey came out in 2017. So was Prey on Game Pass? Because of those two games, they were successful. But now, is this just a case of him feeling that since Redfall took a crap, and help me remember, was that Xbox's fault because they were so like in the
Unclear.
mix? Okay, I thought
It
I
was one of
remembered.
those. Sorry, it was one of those where they essentially said, "Oh, we let Arcane be Arcane. It's not our fault that the game
Yeah,
failed." But then, like that's been much of the criticism about Microsoft as a publisher who's buying all these studios, is that it doesn't provide the publishing support that they really need. It doesn't give the studios the guidance that they need to succeed or to be a valuable part of their portfolio. It's just like, okay, you suck, you suck, you suck. You were great, but we're going to close you anyway, you know.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if this was a case of him being slighted, like because Redfall didn't do so well, not knowing exactly whose fault it was, and him coming out and being critical of the Xbox Game Pass, which you could
And
probably say it was.
I mean, yeah. Um, I will say Redfall though is not the only example of a game that came out on Game Pass that hasn't done well.
Right.
You know, and I would even argue that several games might have done better without its existence. Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, because there's no way for me to tell. I can't
Right.
actually tell you if that would be the case. But one of the things I was thinking about too, and I think TKN85 brought it up, where he jokingly said, "Well, just lay off another 10,000 employees, and it'll be profitable." Um, the idea here
Won't
that
change.
they're laying off 9,000 employees at Xbox, and then still saying that Game Pass is a viable option. That's where the math doesn't math for me again. Um, if they're
Yeah.
struggling, if they keep shutting down and kind of scuttling all of these different developers, the unlimited cash thing is a fallacy in a way. Um, and so, from a business model standpoint, that is, I've heard since I moved to the South the phrase, that dog just ain't gonna hunt.
Right. Dog will hunt. Well, and Ducks in Disguise says Redfall was broken AF. Game Pass didn't kill that one. Reviews did. So again, I'd really like to know if Microsoft had their hands in it, telling Arcane Studios what to do and yada yada yada, or were they truly hands off? And this game just wasn't a success. It bit them in the ass, and now they're trying to blame Game Pass for their failure, which, I mean, obviously wasn't true.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an element of butthurt in these comments, I
Oh,
think.
for sure, for sure.
Maybe not against Microsoft, or maybe not against Game Pass specifically, but against Microsoft in general. But I think Game Pass was the only reason that hardly anybody played Redfall, was because they could try it free and see, this game that was supposed to be legendarily awful, and they'd be like, "Oh, let's try it and see how crazy and funny it is." And they got to try it and saw that, yeah, it was as advertised.
I'll be honest though, I was excited for it prior to it releasing. It sounded like a really cool concept,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounded
Hmm.
exciting. So, could it be one of those situations where you put it in front of too many eyes too quickly, and
Well, let's
maybe
not forget that the game was reworked to be free to play, full of microtransactions, or maybe not free to play, but it was pumped full of monetization, which was not the game they originally wanted to make.
And Dex brings up an interesting point. He says some devs do better with Steam for sure. The big seasonal sales can mean big money if a game is priced and placed right. I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. Funny you talk about that, because coming up later.
foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. But yeah, I don't think we'll ever really know if or how much Game Pass is hurting the gaming industry, because Microsoft will never be honest about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's admit that for them to say that it's failing, and admit that the past 10 years of this experiment just didn't work, like, they would never do that.
Puzzle Better said, "If you want your game to be seen, you got to go through us." Feels a little bit like paying protection money to the mob. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
little like that. It's
Yeah. But I
just
mean,
legal.
those studios have to realize that, like Blue said, you're getting your game out to so many more people um, through Game Pass that
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise at the store, right? You want that,
Probably.
you want it to be a $60 game, $70 game, or what have you. But when it's out there competing with all this other stuff that comes out, you're like, I remember it used to be like a handful of games that you get to choose from, man. And now it's just like you walk into it's a blockbuster type thing of games that come out all the time. So you're just like, the choices are so many. What do I even pick? So you take a
It,
little bit of a hit on price and get it out to the people via Game Pass. Oh yeah, I love this game. Oh, now I'll go and buy it because I enjoyed it for such a discounted price.
and you're right. I mean, Game Pass itself is extremely consumer friendly in the short term, right?
Yeah, of course.
This is a great option for almost anybody, realistically, is Game Pass. However, um, devs struggling and not getting the money they need in order to continue also limits your pool of potential
Of
games. So it's
course.
like a catch 22, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. If you have to sell your soul to get on the service.
I knew Microsoft was the devil.
They don't hide it well.
uh, and I see Microsoft wearing the red devil outsuit like Francis in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
I
Yeah.
mean, let's be fair. They're all the devil.
It's just who's like the bigger devil of the moment.
Devil of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one's Lucifer? Which one's Beelzebub? Which one's Asmodeus? All that stuff.
It all smells like sulfur in the end.
All right, next up. Last week, Stop Killing Games, the consumer-driven initiative demanding games publishers leave their titles in a playable state once support is terminated, surpassed 1 million signatures. But now, EU industry body Video Games Europe, which represents the likes of Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, Riot Games, Activision Blizzard, Microsoft, and Nintendo, has weighed in, insisting the initiative's proposals would make games prohibitively expensive to create. Stop Killing Games was launched last April by accursed Farms YouTuber Ross Scott, calling upon video game fans around the world to petition their local governments regarding the increasingly common occurrence of purchased games becoming unplayable due to publishers' actions. The games preservation movement was prompted by Ubisoft's decision to shut down open world racer The Crew's servers last March, preventing access to both its multiplayer and single-player content due to its always online nature. We appreciate the passion of our community, reads a statement from Video Games Europe. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. Stop Killing Games organizer Scott shared a brief response to Video Game Europe's statement on social media, calling its arguments flimsy.
Ooh.
At best.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think this is a pipe dream. I would love this to be the case. I would love games companies being held accountable for making online only games and then shutting them down and creating a poor user experience and basically a waste of your money. Sure. That also prevents game preservation in the long term as well. Since you can't play a game, no longer exists essentially. But I just don't see the companies or the governments making this change. It's again, it would be awesome. And if there were another option out there, like, I don't know, allowing companies to sell the rights to the server or something, that would be cool. But I don't see it happening. Nobody likes to relinquish control, but if it's not commercially viable to them, they don't care.
So having the government try to get involved, I feel like that's a little bit of an overstep, right? It's more government involvement that we don't need. We absolutely don't need for that. The second thing is, this is something my son and I have actually discussed. There was a particular game, I think, like Skate 3, I think, that he wants to get the platinum for. And Skate 3 is a PlayStation 3 game that they still play. My sons both still play this game. And they're unable to get the platinum for because with the online lobbies, they're basically non-existent, right? The game, I don't know if the online servers are even there, or if they are, things happen to them where they can't actually get a full squad to get some of these achievements going. And he's like, well, why couldn't they sell the rights to those servers to somebody who wants to buy them and then maintain them in the cloud? And I'm like, that is an option, but as long as it doesn't contain any type of source code or something like that, you could totally sell the particular server or the contents within, do a migration over to the cloud, over to AWS, over to Azure or Google,
Hmm.
and say, here
Yep.
you go, here's your instance. And now you're responsible for people being able to connect to this instance and play the game and all that stuff. This is on you. You own the rights to it.
If you could sell it too, I mean, it would probably be pretty expensive to own
Mm-hmm.
the rights to something like that. So obviously, somebody would need to have a lot of deep pockets for that to happen. But think about it from a company's perspective. We got paid for something that we were losing money for the last 2 years,
Right.
right? This is awesome. We've recouped some of our costs. So could that be the case? Sure. I don't work in games development, so I couldn't
Me
tell
neither.
you what the logistics of that look like, honestly. And it's probably a lot more convoluted than even I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, while I am behind the emotion of this petition and this movement to preserve our games and stop taking away things that we've paid for, I'm also of the same mind that I would not sign this. I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, the government oversight, like you mentioned, Donnie, I think is too far. And then you're leaving it up to who's going to write these laws. So you have to leave the game in a playable state. What does that mean? Does this apply to every single person who ever publishes a video game? Like the one that immediately came to mind was a little indie game. It's a puzzle game called Blobcat, released in 2017. I got a free copy to review, and Blobcat had online lobbies where you could race other people to solve the puzzles. I never once saw a single other person in those lobbies. So I never got to try them out.
Hmm.
So should that little bitty publisher for that little bitty Blobcat game be forced to maintain that online play into perpetuity when it was never successful to begin with? I don't think so. I think that's how you stop small developers from even attempting to make games, would be a law like this. And so I think there's a lot more nuance that needs to be considered. The other thing is that if you're going to allow private parties to purchase these servers, that also is real iffy, because let's say you purchase the server for a game, it was way expensive, and shockingly, now you can't afford to maintain it because the company certainly couldn't with all their resources. So
Right.
are now you subject to this law that says you have to keep the game going
That's a good point.
because
Well,
you purchased it?
that's true, but you could also have subscriptions, right? So I wouldn't say that would be a pipe dream for somebody to be able to purchase one of these servers and run it by themselves and all that stuff
Mhm.
with the amount of cost that takes. I think only the super rich would be somebody who's just bleeding money out of their butt. Like, oh yeah, let's buy a game server for a 20-year-old
That's a
game and
horrible place to
let's just
be
run it.
bleeding
Right.
money.
I will be that person's friend, though. I'm just saying.
Depending on the game.
Right. But yeah, so there's always ways that you could make it happen, but I think the reality is it would be really difficult and very few would have the ability to keep it going. So then what happens to you then? Also, if these are online games, you've made an account. That's why you're invested in whether this game keeps going. Now your information is being sold to God knows who, just because they decided to buy the server. And then, there's just too much going on with this that I think this is a bad idea, as much as I agree with the sentiment behind it.
Yeah, the sentiment
Simon
is solid. Like,
Simon Astor says, back in my day, we didn't need dedicated servers. We just put in the IP address of our buddy and joined a game. There were no griefers, connection was good, and we liked it. So I
I feel like that was the holiday special Scrooge voice, and I appreciate that you did it.
um I'm gonna say two words. Ultima Online.
Hmm.
Ultima Online was released back in the late 90s, and it's still going, right? The servers for that game are still going. There are still subscription-based servers for that game. There are also
Arso.
unofficial. There are also unofficial servers that you can get on and not have to pay a subscription and all that stuff. But the freaking game is still the freaking laser. It's still going. How old is that? What, 27?
Hmm.
something like
Don't say
that.
it. Just don't say
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
we can stop saying numbers anytime. And that's the thing is I think you can find examples of this being done successfully, but they're still the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the game that you love, I know it's near and dear to your heart, but not everybody. It doesn't have a solid player base like Ultima Online or World of Warcraft. When it eventually gets to that point where just the attention drops off, nobody's really playing it, but I still play this game every Friday night or every Saturday night or every night when I come home. I need to have this game going for the rest of my life. Sorry, it just doesn't work that way. If the game is popular, if it's the demand is still there, I'm sure the companies will keep it running to get that little bit of change going into their coffers.
Yeah.
I will say, one thought that came to my mind was if you could legislate this for all online only games, and companies who are making online only games, if they made a single player campaign, then you would still be able to play that game if you wanted to, just not
I,
with your friends.
yeah,
But hear me out. I think that's also a bad idea, because what that just means is I think you're going to run into two problems, right? Either people are not going to make a game because it they don't want to create a single player campaign because it's extra work, and
Hmm.
doesn't provide them with any additional revenue. And two, I think that this is where AI development is going to come into play, and you're going to get a lot of single player campaign mail-ins, if you will, where it's just like, all right, AI, just use our content and make this, and then blah blah blah,
Yeah.
blah, and it's the worst single player campaign, just so they don't
Yeah.
have to get caught up in this.
Whatever gets you past the requirement legally.
Correct. Correct.
And the reality is we all hate online only games, but some games don't work offline, like these multiplayer experiences that they're talking about. If you've got a single player aspect, yes, there is no reason you need to be online only all the time. And I think still the most foolproof way around that as a consumer is don't buy that shit. If it's online only, single player, don't buy it. And that is even more relevant these days, like especially with this key card shit that Nintendo is doing. That's essentially the same thing. It's an online game that you have to download. And the only way that they're going to stop doing that is if they stop making money. That's the only thing they've ever listened to is lost sales.
Right.
yeah.
But with your dollars
But with your dollars.
and have the conviction. That's what we
Right.
suck at as gamers.
Stick
We're
with it.
like, we're never gonna buy this, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I bought it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't gonna, but then the FOMO, and so I bought it.
Right.
because you're
Exactly.
weak, and I've outgrown you. Coming up next, Nintendo has said that it will limit the amount of time spent developing some game projects as one solution to the increasing risks of game production as it enters its Switch 2 era. Growing development budgets driven by ever larger projects and higher fidelity games, as well as the increased cost of products to consumers, have meant that the high risk business of making games was only becoming riskier. Nintendo boss Shuntaro Furukawa recently told investors that while offsetting these higher costs with a higher price to consumers was one solution, this could also limit the number of people willing and able to pay for them. No shit. Still, Furukawa has now said that Nintendo is investigating ways to continue providing its usual standard of novelty that fans have come to expect, with the need to ensure its game budgets don't spiral out of control and game prices remain affordable to as many players as possible. We also believe it is possible to develop game software with shorter development periods that still offer consumers a sense of novelty. Furukawa concluded, without providing an example of this, we see this as one potential solution to the concern about rising development costs and software prices, and we will explore it from various angles within the company.
I'll at least give him this. He didn't say, well, the real fans will find a way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
afford it. He's in touch with reality, I think. So that's nice. They've got that going for them.
I just feel like that's not a very Japanese thing to say anyway, so I don't think.
So, is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing with them reducing the amount of time developing a game?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah.
If anybody can pull it off, I think Nintendo probably would. The question is, are you just going to spend more money in a shorter period of time because now you're trying to do this faster than you would have? What is going to be the cost to your developers personally? Like, are we hitting like major crunch scenarios, those kinds of things?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just your product is not as good as it once was.
Right.
If Nintendo was a company that had a bunch of waste, then you could be like, yeah, okay, we see lots of areas that we can trim up and make this cheaper. But of all like the big developers out there, Nintendo's the one that I probably most believe has the process streamlined. You could believe that a company like EA or Take-Two has so much redundancy, so much middle management nonsense that they could get rid of, save a ton of money. I believe that 100%. Nintendo, I don't know. I'm not as convinced.
I will say with the I think the shorter timeline we automatically go for its lower quality, right?
You would
hmm
think, yeah.
You would
Nintendo's
think.
already dealing with quote unquote lower quality visually, though. So that in theory should save them a ton of time already.
That's kind of where I was going to go with that. Is that Nintendo hasn't really been known for being the tracing the rays, if you will, when it
Right.
comes to their games. And I think that they recognize that graphically, it doesn't have to be lifelike in order for people to play it. Now, granted, with the Switch 2, fidelity has gone up, right? They're now in 1080p land, which fine,
Ooh.
right? But it's still not 120 frames per second in 4K resolution that every other game developer is out there chasing. And I
hmm
would be willing to bet that it doesn't take as much time to graphically develop a Nintendo game versus Death Stranding 2, you know? Even though that's just like a I'm gonna carry stuff over to this other place, right? It's a walking simulator, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, but
But
it's still got like 5 hours of cutscenes, so that takes
mhm,
time. That
it
takes
does
time.
take time. It does
Yeah.
take time.
And I kind of wanted to play Death Stranding 2 simply for the whole Metal Gear thing that's going on with it.
Well, play it. Why not?
No, no.
No, I kind of want to, but no, no, no.
But no, no.
And it says it's taking some time to develop some game projects as one solution. Are they talking about the idea that it's just going to only going to be on the Switch 2 or it's only going to be on the Switch, not both?
I think they're,
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know. They must have other ideas to cut costs that
Because
they're not.
that's one way you can cut costs really really easily, right?
Of
Is not
course.
having to develop for two platforms. I mean, because they're often not compatible with each other. So you got to figure out a way to either dumb down or smart up a
Smart
game.
up.
There you go. Yeah, that's where we're gonna go with
Right.
smart up.
TM, I'm trademarking that. So yeah, you could certainly cut time and cost for that for sure.
hmm
But that's the assumption that people are going to go out and buy a Switch 2. That's a risk. Huge risk.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I read, and don't quote me on this, but I think the Switch 2 had the biggest launch of any Nintendo console. However, their install base right now is still a fraction of what the OG Switch is.
Mhm.
So eh, there's some give or take there. Maybe in a couple more years that would sound like a much more viable solution. But I mean, you think about the Nintendo games of the last gen, Odyssey, and the two Breath of the Wild games. Yes, I know
And
technically
Wonder.
Breath of the Wild was a Wii U, whatever. I'm glad they took their time with those games. I'm glad that there was 6 years between, I think, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I think those games need time to cook. And so, in a lot of ways, this concerns me that this is Nintendo going against what they've stood for all this time.
It's almost the
I think
water's
you
almost
now
gone.
because you're retched, you have to read it, Blue.
Frank says Donnie's like, I'm not gonna play Death Stranding 2. I got this whole gum in a cup thing going on. You never know what this thing's gonna taste like.
Just roll it around in there like a little science experiment. See that?
If you missed the discussion earlier and you're in the chat, please let me know whether you think it's okay to spit your gum in your cup of water and keep drinking it. Tell
Or,
me I'm not alone in being grossed out about that.
lightly place it instead of spitting my gum in my water, okay?
You're right. That makes all the difference.
Yeah, it does. The delivery is how, yeah.
See, Duck says, what? No, thank you. Thank you.
So what I do, I pull a violet Beauregard. I don't stick it behind my ear. I'll put it in my water that I drink. When my cheeks get tired of chewing the gum, I put it in there, take a break, gulp it back down. Hey, there it goes. I can chew it again for a little bit.
See, Games with Coffee says, Donnie, I love you, but hard no. Gaming Again says, I'm grossed out and I like pickle juice.
Kiss my ass.
Rather do that than drink your water.
Oh.
Don't tell Sanity.
Right. So we all know that if you're a company like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, you have a newer console, of course you're going to start weaning these games that you develop off of the old console to get more people driving to purchase your newer one. So I can't say that Nintendo is going to ultimately stop immediately developing games for the original Switch, because with the Switch 2 just coming out, you're just a month in, right? You're a month in for this console, and typically they start doing that within like what, 1 to 2 years. So they're realistically a long time away from stopping any new games coming out on the Switch. And probably third-party developers, they'll still develop for the original Switch and the Switch 2, just to get that sort of, keep the money coming in. But Nintendo, I can see where they're like, well, we just want to drive more people to the Switch 2, so we're going to forget about the Switch and yada, yada, yada.
It's such a risk doing that, though, because, when you look at it from the transition from Wii U to Switch, you could do that all day long because, like, no one had a Wii U. So everybody was jumping onto the Switch because it was novel and it was new and it was cool. There's not a whole lot of difference between the Switch and Switch 2, even from a form factor standpoint.
Right.
Is there enough of a difference for people to want to make that switch and spend money on it? I don't know. So I don't think that they put themselves in the right position to be able to warrant people making that transition as quick as possible. So yikes is all I'll say. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, Nintendo is not typically the one who says, "Oh, we're going to gamble on forcing people one way versus the other."
Right.
Right. That's something that Sony does when they put out PlayStation 2 and say PSVR 2, and we're not going to make it backwards compatible. We're going to force people to the new platform, and it didn't work. Nintendo is not typically that dumb. However you want to play, however you want to buy Nintendo stuff, they'll sell it to you generally.
Right.
Last time they were that dumb, they tried to screw over Sony. Created
what
a
happened.
Brand new empire.
Yeah.
Yep. Oops.
All right. Last but not least, turns out we gamers are all just a bunch of irresponsible, drunken sailors. The power of Steam as a platform is that it enables hoarding, reckons Steam expert and games marketing analyst Chris Zukowski, arguing that Valve cracked the problem that Netflix was struggling with by tapping into hardcore gamers who love a fat backlog. Oh yeah, thick. The reason Steam makes indies so much money compared to all the other platforms is that Valve has built up an audience that is full of super diehard hobbyists who aren't actually all that worried about playing the games they buy, Zukowski reasons. He further digs into Valve's 30% revenue cut from Steam sales, which has attracted criticism. He, however, claims that the reason developers are willing to hand over such a high cut to Valve is because they're getting revenue whether or not the audience actually plays the game. Knowing Steam players are hoarders explains why you give them that 30%. You get access to a bunch of drunken sailors who spend money irresponsibly. Developers may take comfort in this analysis when competing against older live service games like Fortnite and GTA Online that continue to be the biggest games, even if that means their revenue is coming from games they may never have played. Even if it means their revenue is coming from games that may never be played. Don't be discouraged by that. This is a totally normal for Steam, Zukowski continues. If Steam shoppers were rational and only bought games they were going to play, we would sell a lot fewer games. Half this industry would be gone. Are there really people buying? Okay, never mind. I'm not even going to say that
I was
because
gonna say
Oh,
it's
I
like
yes.
that meme. What's going on? I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
I've got games that I've purchased that I fully intend to play. Right? I'm like, oh god, yeah, I want to play this game. I want to play. It's so cheap. I want to play this game. I want to play this game. Every single game right now in my Steam library, whether or not it's installed or not, I intend to play. I just haven't gotten around to it.
I mean,
So
yeah,
you're
that's the
hoarding
thing.
them like a drunken sailor.
Where's the rum gone?
I think we always tell ourselves we're going to play it because something attracted us to the title in the first place. That's why we bought it on a
Yeah.
whim, probably, or because it was on a wish list. And then the Steam sale came along, and then well, you're saving money really if you buy it now, even though you don't have time to play it. And then suddenly 8 years goes by and you forget you even own it.
I mean, how am I supposed to play Tentacle Love 4 if I haven't played 1, 2, and 3?
Right.
You'd be completely lost. That narrative is very important.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel like that Steam is like the tchotchke shop of video gaming, right? Like you buy this in this little trinkets that you're going to take home, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you have a purpose for it, and it just ends up in some cardboard box in your attic after 6 months, and you never look at it again until you move, and you go, "Wait, I fucking own this thing."
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that he cites Netflix, right? Netflix in this problem. The biggest problem with Netflix is they constantly take stuff off all the time. Right? There's stuff
Mm-hmm.
available in other regions that aren't available here. So it's like you have a movie that Netflix was originally like, hey, here you go, you can watch this movie, and you're like, great. Then you go to watch it, it's gone. Well, what the hell? But I can go and get a DVD from Netflix. I can do the regular thing and have you ship it to my house, and I get it the next day. I can still watch the movie that way, even though it costs more with you sending postage to send it back and send it to me and all that stuff. Just give me the freaking movie. With Steam, it's always there. It's almost never removed. Unless you have a case where like Sega wants to remove all the Sonic stuff because they're coming back out with a collection, and then they want people to spend money on that, and then they'll come back and say, "Oh, we're going to start releasing the Sonic games on there," which I mean, it doesn't really happen all that often.
No.
Well, in a lot of ways, the Netflix model is the Game Pass model.
Yeah.
That's true.
You get people to pay a low subscription price, but you got to find shit to put on your platform. So you make all these deals, and the only way you can make the math because Netflix doesn't have unlimited money is to do these limited time contracts and regionally locked contracts. So otherwise, we probably don't have Netflix.
I will say, um, as a person who had a friend who sold games on Steam, I was genuinely surprised how many people bought a game for. I mean, it was like 199 to 299, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Bought his game. I mean, when it first came out, like apparently had made it on some page, and then he was getting all these sales, and there was only like 4 comments on the game, like 4 ratings. And
Uh-huh.
so what that says to me is like no one played it. And by the way, um, no, I'm not going to say that.
Oh, oh.
You better think.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't.
Uh,
So I'll hold back on it, but it was just interesting to see. Uh,
Type it in
and
the
it's
chat.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
after the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see says 3 words: Adult Swim games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Simon says, they were too busy playing to leave a comment.
Yeah, of course. This game is so awesome. They haven't put it down yet. So how can you leave a comment when you're still playing the game?
Yeah. But I think Steam does it right in a lot of ways because when you newly release your game, they give it a lot of extra attention
Mm-hmm.
that later kind of tapers off. probably if your game didn't prove itself initially. But yeah, I think Chris Zukowski is not wrong, even though you didn't have to say it quite like that. But
He's out of line, but he's got a point.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, especially when you've got a bunch of people who paid, $3,000 to $5,000 for their PC. I'm guessing money isn't a problem. So why not just
Eh,
wait for the Steam sales that happen twice a year, buy a bunch of crap, never look back?
You could still
Mhm.
spend $1 million on a house and be house poor and not have money to do anything else.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I would say, however, I think probably most people who spend $5,000 on a PC rig probably have some disposable income.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Could
find
be.
money in the couch cushions all the time.
I'm coming to your house. Hey Ryan, you want a beer? No, no, I'm just I'm in the couch. Give me a few minutes.
Mining for change.
Just gum.
Chewed or unchewed? That's the question.
ABC.
Like, oh,
Mm.
there's that piece. Puts it in your mouth. Oh god.
Just see Blue's face right now.
Oh, she's
Love
gonna
the way
vomit.
this episode is gone.
She's gonna hurl.
Donnie's just enjoying not being on the receiving end of that for once.
Yes, I am. Oh, the gum is still wet.
Still wet.
Still
Oh.
freaking wet. Oh, that's I see that. I need a shirt, a t-shirt which just says the gum is still wet. I'm gonna make that. That's awesome.
And then you're wearing it like around the grocery store and
Yeah.
everybody's watching you walk by like,
I'll see it's trending on Twitter. It'll be awesome. The gum is still wet.
D says you're the gum daddy now. Congratulations.
Hey, that's another daddy title. I'll take it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our top 3 new releases for the week.
All right, first up we have EA Sports College Football 26 out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Prove your program belongs in the top with enhanced college football gameplay featuring new offensive and defensive mechanics. Experience new stunts and twists, then make dynamic substitutions when it counts. With over 2,800 new plays, 10,000 players, and over 300 real world coaches with true to life schemes, this is the most authentic college football experience yet. Next up is Everdeep Aurora out on Switch and PC. An ongoing an ongoing apocalyptic meteor shower has forced the world's population to settle underground. As Shell, a feline child who awakens to find her mother missing, drill downward from the surface layer through a tile-based underground in this narrative exploration and platform game inspired by 16-bit aesthetics. And last up, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Get hyped for the legendary franchise to return with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Everything you loved is back, but revamped with more skaters, new parks, gnarlier tricks, eardrums, shattering music, plus a whole lot more. So, based on these 3 choices this week, Ryan, what are you going with?
So EA Sports College Football 26. It's a hard pass for me. I love football. Love watching football. Love discussing. Love doing fantasy football, Final Fantasy football.
You say
But
Final Fantasy Football.
yeah, I almost said Final Fantasy. So, um, I don't like college football. I never have. Never been a fan of college football. I find the game to be annoying to watch.
Right there with you, buddy.
Yep. So pro football, absolutely. It's funny because I'm like the opposite with basketball. Love college basketball. Not as much of a fan of NBA. But nonetheless, that reason alone is probably most of the reasoning why I wouldn't pick up this game. So yeah, like I said, it's a hard pass for me. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 looks awesome. Michelangelo is involved, right? I think I'm too old to play a Tony Hawk game.
What?
They created this for our age group, though.
Hands, it's my hands are the problem, right? And it's
Okay.
when you play it and like you gotta button mash like crazy, right? And they're not what they used to be. They're not as pliable as they used to be, and
That's
I
a
don't want
shame.
to. Trust me, I'm aware. So I will say that this is, despite my desire, I love Tony Hawk games. I have always enjoyed them back in the day, and the music's always great. And it looks like they really upped the graphics, which for that era was absolute shit. So I'm glad to see it looks nice. But again, just the thumbs have lost a beat, if you will.
Hmm.
Pleased with Everdeep Aurora. This looks fantastic. It's nice, like it said, retro inspired. Actually, like it's a mixture between a 16-bit and a Game Boy Color aesthetic. Looks really fun. Um, Again, I think proof that a game doesn't need to be graphically perfect for it to be fun. And I'm always looking for games that take that mantra and focus more on the gameplay than necessarily the graphics. Even though I think this art style is completely a choice and it's done very well, this is mostly about the actual experience. And so I think this is going to be fun. And it's available on Switch, so I can just download it pretty quickly. So this week, Everdeep Aurora, that's my go to.
See, Siram I says, you just got to get out a pair of the compression gloves.
And Puzzle Better says, my fingers are not what they used to be. The couch cushions might beg to differ.
What about you, Donnie?
I share Ryan's sentiment regarding college football. I think the last college sports football game that I played was on the Sega Genesis or Sega CD. Um,
Yeah.
Bill Walsh's whatever football. Yeah, I do not like college football at all. It's like every freaking play is this long 90-yard pass or it's a 100-yard run. It's like, oh my god, whatever. And I know that's probably people were like, well, that's what makes it great because they're always awesome plays. It's just to me, it's like,
I can tell you don't even watch college football. The fact you're saying that.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on college football 26. Everdeep Aurora, I took a look at it. I do like the art style. The gameplay almost, I would say, looks like a good mix of RPG and platformer. That's just my personal opinion, even though they don't say it's anything with an RPG. But I think it definitely looks like it could be a viable game. I might eventually try it out. But the game that I'm probably going to pick up this time is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4. The 1 and 2 remaster is amazing. It's so amazing that I can actually see everything in the level, know when something like it's not just like this little corner that like makes me fall off my board. No, it was so difficult playing that game on the PS1. And I know that the game refinement got a little bit better on 3 and 4, but bringing it to this level on the PS5, or hell, I might just get it for the Xbox One. Are you kidding me? They're making games for the Xbox One? All right. I just fired up
They
Metal Gear
really
Solid
want you
5.
to buy this.
I think I'll buy it on the Xbox One. So this
It's
week,
going to be a trivia thing later on. Like, what's the last game officially released for the Xbox One?
Yeah. Oh, I'll buy a copy of it sealed. That way, and I'll send it to Wyatt to get graded. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, probably Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4 for me.
All right. See, Ducks in Disguise says, unless you can draft a water boy, I'm a skip college football.
You sound like a choo-choo train. Blue, what about you? What are you picking up this week?
So, unlike the two of you, I actually really love college football. I watch it all season long. That's how I spend my Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah, I didn't ask you. So part of me really thinks that this would be fun, but let not forget that it's an EA game. So when I went to the website to check out the game description, so I could use it for the notes here. They were advertising, pre-ordering the MVP pack, which came with 4,600 college football points, and you could also buy like bonus dynasty coach points and road to glory skill points. And at that point, I got tired. I I don't know what you're trying to do. It sounds like a damn mobile game where you need 7 gems and like 3 rubies to be able to go to the next level. As I don't know what they're trying to do with this, but I want no part of it. So I might have, in a pure gaming sense, been somewhat interested in it, but the way that it looks like EA is trying to do it, no thank you. I'm going to skip that.
It's a match 3 to get to the college
God.
bowl, right?
um Everdeep Aurora, I was really pleasantly surprised by this trailer because initially looked at the cover art and it just kind of looks like blah, just like generic cartoony looking video game characters, whatever. But then the art style is completely different than what the cover art looks like. It, like you said, it's kind of this really gorgeous 16-bit but Game Boy type style aesthetic, and I thought it was beautiful. And it looks as though it's got a bit of a Metroidvania type
Yep.
feel, but with the mechanic of using this drill like it's friggin' Dig Dug to explore that way. So I am 100% in for Everdeep Aurora. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I never got into the Tony Hawk games, so I don't have any nostalgia for this. I'll probably just check out the soundtrack instead and call it good. So Everdeep Aurora for me.
Nice.
Nice. All right, so before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic family-friendly retro gaming podcast, and each episode, Rob and a guest pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. And right now, they want to know, what was the first video game you ever played? Send your answers to email at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. Uh, I can say, and this is actually cool. First game I ever played was called Keystone Capers for the Atari 2600, and Gary Kitchener was the developer of that, and he follows me on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
Very nice.
that's a nerd flex right
That's a
there.
flex right there.
Yeah. I was briefly followed by Smokey the Bear on Twitter.
Briefly.
Briefly. I mean, I followed him back because it's friggin' Smokey the Bear, but then I quit Twitter, so.
I was wondering if he unfollowed you and be like, there's a little
Smokey
too
would
much
never do
fire
that.
going on back there.
No.
I think mine, the earliest that I can remember, was playing Moon Patrol,
Oh, good
the
one.
arcade cabinet,
Yeah.
like back in the early 80s. And this would have been like, and I remember it at a laundromat before my mom left my real dad. So it would have been like in the like 82, 83, I think when I was 4 or 5 years old. Like I remember just like mashing buttons, having the thing kind of like do the gravity jump and all that stuff and trying to figure out how the game actually worked. So I think Moon Patrol has to be my earliest video game memory.
Mine is Cubert
Ooh, that's a good one.
on 2600. I remember watching my dad play, and he made it look really fun. And so I tried to give it a go, and I thought it was impossible.
It is impossible.
Yeah, granted, I was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4, but I was like, this isn't fun. Who made this? They called it a game. I hate it.
So I used to watch a show called Clock Suckers. It was on.
Say what?
It was Clock Suckers. Yes, that's the name of it.
Yeah, you better emphasize that.
Yeah.
It was a college humor cartoon, and one of the things that they had is they got sucked into the TV, and they had to do like video game challenges. And one of them, he goes, "We played more than 10 minutes of Cubert."
Yeah, and I've tried since then to go back and be like, it can't be that hard. And it's like every time, it's always been that hard.
I do like that he swears, and I think it's funny that the first game you ever played has a character that swears in it.
Yeah. And it set the course for my whole life. My whole motherfucking life.
Whoa.
There it is.
Yeah, you got to put the Kubert sound in on that.
Maybe that should be our new sound for for when we swear is the Kubert sound.
I don't know.
I
I
like
think
it.
Yoshi's been doing a good job so far.
Yoshi definitely has, but
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, we're 173 episodes in. Maybe,
He needs a break.
yeah, needs a break.
You got to do things to spice it up, to keep the thing going,
I mean, if Yoshi needs a break, we could consider not swearing.
Fuck that.
Fuck no.
Yeah, that's a win about how I thought that would go.
All right, students, thanks you for coming. Please take your seats. Welcome back to Professor Rybread's Gaming History 101. And in today's lesson, we will have you transform into a bird, into a plane, into the man of steel himself, Superman, as we look back at the retro history of the OG DC superhero and his not so super games. And we're doing this today because there's a new Superman movie coming out, so we thought we'd celebrate. So sit back, sons and daughters of Jor-El. It's time to kneel before Zod.
Snoochie
What?
boochies.
So if you think about it, Superman has been flying into video games not quite as long as he's been soaring in comics, but it has been quite a while. And before he was stomping and sprawling through 3D cities and dunking in on blockbuster fighting games, the Man of Steel adventures on consoles were a mixed bag, to say the least. So let's take a fun trip through the ups and downs of Superman games from 1978 up to the dawn of the new millennium.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh. So what I did is I, of course, researched this, and I also asked ChatGPT to rate these games out of a score of 10. So this is
Okay.
the rating that you will hear today is not my own. It's according to what the AI overlords have to say about these games. So we're going to start off. Oh, go ahead.
Probably it's getting the rating as an average of what it's finding.
Yes, exactly. So I
Okay.
think I'm safe. I'm safe.
Acceptable.
This is what the internet says this game is. So 1978 was Superman on Atari 2600. I think this was a bit ambitious, but back when pixels were giant and gameplay was, for lack of a better term, simple, Superman arrived on the Atari 2600. Now the game had you catching criminals and finding the pieces of a bridge that Lex Luthor blew up. Yes, that is most of the plot of the game. Not exactly Man of Steel level thrills, but it was groundbreaking for its time, and it was one of the first superhero games ever made. If you think about it, though, the graphics were basically blocks, and the gameplay was pretty repetitive. You lose the ability to flight if you get hit by something, and you have to find Lois Lane to get it back. Gee, I wonder what happens there. Super repetitive, but we got to remind ourselves it was the 70s, right? It was the end of the 70s. It was the Atari. So not too bad for Spider-Man's pickle debut and far better than what Spider-Man went through. So average rating here, 4 out of 10. And I think this is really based on modern experiences with this older game. I would say they would probably be rated higher than that back in the day.
Well, as Ducks in Disguise says, Superman with a dustpan sweeping up some concrete dust to rebuild the bridge is a hell of a concept for a 2600. And actually, Professor, can we pause the lesson real fast? TCAN85 says, I have a fun video game Superman story. Back in like 2007, my brother-in-law was a writer on Smallville, and I was tasked with acquiring the only Wii available in Los Angeles near UCLA's campus for the guy playing Lex Luthor, who is Michael Rosenbaum. That's the most Hollywood experience I had in my 4 years in LA.
No kidding. That is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I
God,
love
hate
that show.
so
I
much.
love that show.
I hate that show so much.
I didn't care too much for it. It just seemed like it was so repetitive. Him dealing with this, a different problem every single week, and you
Freak of the week.
yeah, and then like maybe once every 2 weeks, it was like, oh, let's focus on this aspect of Superman as opposed to this other thing that now comes like, well, all the Kryptonia or the Krypton, what Kryptonium, right?
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite. What the Jesus Christ? Yeah, whatever. Didn't care for the show. Kristen Kruk, however, I did.
That was the main appeal.
Yeah.
And I was dating a girl who was really into the show. So
Mm. See, Mr. Blue is obsessed with the show, and I think I have seen all 10 seasons probably 7 times each.
See, that's why you hate it. It's
And
because
that's
you've
why
been
I hate it.
forced to watch it.
It's a fine show otherwise, but enough's
I
enough.
will say some of the songs that they had on the series were absolute bangers. Remy Zero had the theme song, and then I think Bush even had like a song debut on the series itself. So not too shabby.
All right, next up is 1987 Superman on NES. And if we kind of fast forward, I mean, if you think about it too, I think there was probably some games that were made for like the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64 in between that, but there was quite a gap if you think about it between 78 and 87. And I will be honest with you, maybe they should have waited longer for this one. So Superman got a side-scrolling platform of its own. You start off as Clark Kent. There it is, right there. You look
Very pretty
nothing.
visual.
You look nothing like the guy on the cover, by the way, except the opening title screen. You do, and that's it. But you had to punch bad guys. You had to jump over obstacles, which, by the way, you're extremely floaty, and even fly, because why not? But there's points in which you can fly straight up, or you can fly across the city. Nobody knows how it works. Right. So if you think about it, though, the controls were awkward. The game didn't really capture the full power of the Kryptonian hero. And plus, the graphics were kind of chibi, if I'm honest. And that's not the style I would associate with Earth's best hero. So this game even, in fact, got the AVGM treatment. So you can pretty safely assume that it's been less than stellar of experience. So however, ChatGPT has ranked this better than the experience on the Atari 2600, giving it a 5 out of 10, saying fun for nostalgia, frustrating for gameplay. 1992, Superman the Man of Steel came out for the Sega Genesis. Actually, it's Genesis and Friends. So there was, I think, Genesis and the Master System, I believe, as well. But honestly, this was a pretty big deal back then. This was actually, I would think, a jump into creating much better games using the Man of Steel here. And in fact, you could actually freely fly over Metropolis, um, and you kind of cruise the city skyline. You know, stop crime. You know, a little bit of that beat 'em up piece to it. You're punching bad guys in the face, and the controls were actually pretty decent as well. However, I will say, fuck you. The ideas were a bit ambitious for the time, but I think we were finally starting to kind of get into that feeling where actually we're playing as Superman. Not perfect, but definitely shows some potential for what they had moving forward. 6.5 out of 10 says it's a worth the effort with room to grow. So yeah, if you definitely want to check that one out. Next one is just straight up Superman, not Superman the Man of Steel, just Superman. Sunsoft's Genesis game brought improved graphics, catchy music, and a classic side-scrolling action. You get to use heat vision, super strength, and a host of other powers to battle villains, save the day. It was straightforward and polished, and many fans remember it as being the better Superman game of the era. This one is ranked 7 out of 10, which is going to be the high water mark for Superman games for this one, right? So classic action, classic Superman. So if you really wanted to play as a Caped Crusader Superman on the Sega Genesis, probably your best bet.
Did
Now,
you say Caped Crusader? That's wrong.
oh, you're right. That's not the Cape Crusader.
No, it is not.
Batman. It's Batman. I know. Sorry.
Kill
Oh my
him!
God.
Kill him now!
Yeah, you better change your name, move.
I
Something.
apologize. So that comes to 1996, The Man of Steel on PC and PlayStation. This is where I'll pretend you didn't hear that. See, this is why I like Dave. Now, this was really the first try at a 3D open world gameplay. And again, you could fly around Metropolis, fight enemies, enemies,
Amenies.
An anemone.
and try to be the hero. Now, again, this was a bit ambitious, and the controls and the camera are as most 3D games at the time, right? It was the controls and the camera were probably the biggest villain that you had to face through that. So often you would get stuck in things. It would make basically the overall experience pretty frustrating. But still, I think a step in the right direction as we started to get more into the 3D process. 5.5 out of 10. Good idea, rough execution. Which brings us to one that I'm going to spend an inordinate amount of time talking about, which is 1999's Superman for the N64. That's right. It wasn't
Yay!
Superman 64. It is Superman. That is just the name of it. Happens to be on the N64.
Hello there.
Now, as you're probably aware, this game is infamous, often topping worst licensed games lists, and for good reason. Developed by Titus Interactive, the
I see what
N64
you did there.
Superman was hyped as groundbreaking open world superhero experience. Imagine flying freely around Metropolis, tackling enemies, stopping crime, and really feeling like the Man of Steel. Sounds awesome, right? Well, let's talk about what went wrong. Quite a lot, actually. The core problem was awful controls and camera work. Flying, which should have been the main fun factor, felt clunky and unresponsive. The rings! The fucking rings! Players struggled to get Superman to do what they wanted, often crashing into buildings and falling helplessly out of the sky. The camera angles were disorienting and frustrating, making navigation a nightmare. And the thing is, if you're going to make a game that requires precision flying, don't make your flying so fucking shitty. Add to the bugs and glitches from invisible walls to the missions that don't trigger properly, and the experience quickly turns sour. Missions were poorly designed, repetitive. Oh, yeah, by the way, you don't just go through the rings once, they come back. And I lost my place. There we go. Missions were poorly designed, repetitive, and often confusing. The game tried to blend flying, fighting, and open world exploration, but ended up with none of these elements working well. Yeah, I don't mind flying through the wings and pilot wings. You're right, or the rings, because the controls were responsive. This was not the case. So why did it fail so badly? Well, technical limitations and rush development. The ambition to create a 3D Metropolis was huge for 1999 as far as hardware is concerned. Especially given the company's complexity of Superman's powers, it seemed like the developers were bit off a bit more than they could chew, and didn't have enough time or resources to polish the final product. 2, design choices. Instead of focusing on tight, fun gameplay, the game suffered from a lack of clear direction. Superman's flying, which should have been fluid and exciting, was clunky and frustrating. And finally, high expectations. We're going to make a game about one of the greatest superheroes of all time, the OG, kind of guy who started most of it all, right? Superman is that iconic character. So when you're walking into the game, you have a certain level of expectations of quality. Well, needless to say, these expectations were met and the backlash was a bit harsh. So the game became a textbook example of how not to handle a licensed superhero game. Despite its failings, it became a cult curiosity. Kind of it's so bad it's famous title that collectors and game historians still talk about. Score 2 out of 10.
Wow, that seems generous.
I know, I agree. A spectacular crash landing in the history of superhero games. Yeah, 2.
2?
So to wrap things up, Superman's early video game history is like his cape, sometimes heroic, sometimes tangled. From Atari's blocky beginnings to its awkward 3D attempts of the 90s, these games tried to capture the essence of the last son of Krypton with varying success. So thank you for attending today's Gaming History 101. And just a reminder, if you have ideas for a story you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com and we might feature your suggestion.
No capes.
Exactly.
She's my favorite character in that whole entire series. My God, you've gotten fat.
Come. I've never played the N64 Superman.
Oh, it's
I've,
so
I
bad.
mean, and because of the reviews, because of the word of mouth, and how everybody proclaims that it's so bad, I don't ever want to touch it. These two, however, I can't say I remember ever playing these, even though I have them. I've got, a tons of games that I've collected. I just haven't had a chance to sit there and play. And I might be at the point where I can go back and play some of them and kind of thin it out if I don't like it.
So the one,
TK85.
the okay.
TK85 says, I have a copy I'll sell you. $100. I know what I have.
What's the Genesis one? Because there's two Genesis ones.
Yeah, this is the Superman Sunsoft.
Got it. Yep. So like the good one, if you will.
Yeah.
Webhead
Nice.
says SNES Death of Superman and
Mhm.
GameCube Superman animated series are ones I recommend.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played the Death of Superman, and I believe that one, like complete in box, is a little bit expensive now for some odd reason. It wasn't a bad game that I remember.
Mhm.
But well, thank you, Ryan, for that informative lesson. We appreciate that. And let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening to episode 173 of Gamers Week Podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Love Retro BTW, Pixel Pond Production Company, and absolutely the best podcast, Work in Progress, for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com. Or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes now with new t-shirts that say the gum is still wet. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/GamersWeek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
See, now if you pay a little bit extra, Donnie will send the shirt to you, also wet.
Ooh. Will it be wet with the water that the
I
gum
suppose
is
that
in?
depends on how much they pay.
Huh.
Yeah, it becomes dealer's choice at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that.
As some people might throw in a few extra bucks for you to make it really special.
That's why those VHS tapes you sent me were so sticky.
Games with Coffee says this shall be known henceforth as the gum water episode.
Whenever I do the
Oh,
export to
God.
YouTube, yeah, it'll be labeled as gum water.
Yeah, viewer discretion advised.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for spending your evening with us. We really do appreciate that. We're going to send you on over to DMC PCRT. He's playing some Conker's Bad Fur Day. Talk about bad games. Yeah, so go ahead and see what that game's all about if you haven't seen it. If you have, you're in for a treat. So we're going to go ahead and rate him, and we will be back next week. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.